Hi everyone, this video is on exercise 13F question 3. So this is a very good question because it has multiple mini questions, so we can practice different things. First of all, we have f of x, and this is the graph of f of x. So in part A, we want to use the factor theorem to show that x plus 3 is a factor of f of x. Okay, so in terms of the factor theorem concept, it basically means that so you have this is a factor of f of x, which means that x plus 3 is equal to 0. So it implies that one of the solutions to this equation is equal to -3. So when it says that use the factor theorem to show that this is a factor, it basically means that first set this factor equal to 0 and solve that. So in this case, we got -3. And then show that f of -3 is equal to 0. So it basically means that substitute -3 into f of x. And basically, that you can then show that it's equal to 0. So first of all, when we substitute -3, we get -27, but since it's minus, we get a positive 27. And then here 3 squared is 9 times 4 is 36, and in this part -3 times 11 is -33, and finally just -30 at the end. So when we add all of these, we just get 0, right? So yeah, that's just the proof of that. Basically, this is a factor. Okay, now in part B, we want to write f of x in the form x plus 3 times a quadratic. So now this part means that, as you have probably seen this in the factor tree in, I think, chapter 7, it just means that use a long division to find, to find this quadratic. So we essentially want to divide the cubic that we are given, which is minus x cubed plus 4x squared plus 11x minus 30, divided by the factor. So the factor is x plus 3. So we divide that by x plus 3. And at this point, it's just a long division. So we'll start with the first term is minus x cubed. So we want to write something such that when we multiply by x plus 3, we get minus x3, x to the power of 3. So it's simply minus x squared. Minus x squared times x is minus x cubed. And then minus x squared times 3 is just minus 3x squared. Okay, so we always subtract these. So we get 0 here, and then 4x squared plus 3x squared is 7x squared. And then we write down the rest of the terms. Okay, now we want to get 7x squared. So just simply 7x. So we have 7x squared plus 21x. Again, we subtract, so we get 0. And then here we get minus 10x minus 30. And finally, we just write minus 10, because minus 10 times x is minus 10x. And then times 3 is minus 30. So again, subtract, and we get 0. So this means that we have found the quadratic factor of this cubic. So therefore, minus x cubed plus 4x squared plus 11x minus 30 can be written as x plus 3 times minus x squared plus 7x minus 10. Yeah, so that's the solution here. Okay, so in the next part, we want to factorize f of x completely, which basically means that, okay, now that you have a quadratic, also factorize that quadratic. So this part is very simple because x plus 3 doesn't need any factorization. And then this quadratic, which is minus x squared plus 7x minus 10, obviously the two roots must be 2 and 5, because 2 and 5 add to 7, and then and 2 times 5 is 10. But we should be careful because here is minus x squared, so we need to take that into consideration. So it basically is going to be, it's a bit of a trial and error, to be honest, because here is negative, but essentially the factorization is this, And the reason for that is because there are two changes. So first of all, here we write down minus x as opposed to the usual case when it's always positive x, because here is negative. And the second change is, even though that here we have 7x, and then on the other hand we have minus 10, so that basically means 2, because in order to get 7 we need to have 2 plus 5, but on the other hand we have minus 10, which must be minus 5. But essentially what happens here is that when we do 2 times minus 5, it obviously gives us this minus 10. And in terms of the addition part, that we must get 7x, this negative is going to help us to get that, because 2 times x is 2x, and then minus x times minus 5 is 5x. So that's why we get 7x on one hand, and on the other hand is minus 10. Yeah. So it's just a bit of trial and error, to be honest, when here is negative. But when it's positive, I think it's very straightforward. Okay, now we have f of x factorized. So part D says determine the x coordinates where the curve intersects the x-axis. So it just means writing down the roots. So when we set this equation equal to 0, so one of them is x plus 3 is equal to 0, which means x minus 3 is one of the roots. Minus x plus 2 is equal to 0, which means x is equal to 2. And finally, x minus 5 is equal to 0, which means x is equal to 5. So the question, I think, says x coordinates. So yeah, we don't need to write down the y coordinates. And then we can write this down on the diagram. So here is 5, here is 2, and here is minus 3. And finally, part E, which says determine the total shaded area shown on the sketch. So it's finally the integration part. So in the exam, you could just be given part E, and then without, being told, you need to do all the way from part A to D by yourself, and then finally you can do part E. Okay, but since this is an exercise, they have kind of broken down the question into the smaller steps. And to find the area, we just need to integrate the function between the regions. So let's say here is region 1, here is region 2. So the integral of region 1 is equal to, because it's between minus 3 and 2, so so to avoid confusion, so yeah, the first integral is between minus 3 and positive 2. So and we write down, essentially we have minus x cubed plus 4x squared plus 11x minus 30 dx. But we should again be careful, because this is the region that is under the x-axis. The output is going to be negative. So to compensate for that, we just write a negative here, because again, we want to find the area. So whenever you're told that find the area, and obviously the area under the x-axis, it's going to give us a negative value, but negative area doesn't make sense, so that's why we put a negative. But if the question is just saying, okay, solve this integral and the output is negative, that's fine, you don't change that. The only time that you just negate that negative number to get a positive number is when it's about finding the area, when they're asking about the quantity of area. So it's very important. And then we add this integral to the second one, which is between 2 and 5, but again, the function is the same. All right. Now, yeah, we just integrate these and we're done. So minus x cubed integrates to minus 1 over 4x to the power of 4. 4x squared integrates to 4 over 3 x to the power of 3, and then 11x integrates to 11 over 2 x squared, and finally minus 30x. So this is again negative between 2 and minus 3, plus the second integral, which is obviously the same thing inside. And then the limits are only different. So yeah, so we just substitute and then solve, and finally the solution, which is the total area, is equal to it is 863 over 6. um yeah, and then just one thing to consider here is that in integration questions it's very common to get numbers like this. So the numbers that aren't very nice. So yeah, don't panic and think that I might have done something wrong. It's always good to check. You can use your calculators to check. But yeah.